Okay, it's evening now, and so we're going to make the caramel sauce first. For the caramel sauce, you need 3/4 of a cup of butter or margarine, 2 tablespoons of white corn syrup, and 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. You can use either dark, which I prefer, or light. And so you're making 4 9x13 pans of sticky buns, so you need 6 sticks of butter or margarine. Each one is a 1/2 cup. You'll need 8 total tablespoons of Karo syrup, and you will need 4 3/4 cups. So 4 times 3/4 cups of brown sugar in your mixture. And that's cooked right on your stove. Pot that's got to be big enough to hold all the ingredients, and you still stir it until it's a caramel mixture that's smooth. So I'm going to get those put into the pot, and then I'll show you what it looks like when we're cooking it and when we're done. Okay. When you cook down the butter and the brown sugar and the Karo syrup, I usually do it over a lower heat, as you can see, medium or less. Medium low works best because you don't want to burn it. And so as it's melting, you just constantly are stirring it until it becomes a consistent mixture. So you can see I've got in the pot the 6 sticks of butter, the 4 3¼ scoops of brown sugar, does not need to be packed, just a level scoop, and then your 8 tablespoons of Karo syrup. And you can see right now, you can still see the individual ingredients, but you'll see as it cooks down and melts together that it'll become a nice, smooth, consistent mixture. You can use either a tablespoon, like I have, a soup spoon like this that I have here to stir it. You can use a wooden spoon if you prefer, whatever suits your needs. But it'll all melt down very consistently and become a nice, creamy mixture. So I'm going to cook this down, and I'll let you see what it looks like as we reach the end. And that's the other thing, make sure you're constantly stirring this mixture so it doesn't burn or stick to the bottom of the pot. As I said, keep it on, medium, low, or low, so then that way you're not going to burn it. But we just keep stirring it all the while it's melting and becoming a combined mixture that you're going to then see is a caramel sauce that'll go into each of the 9x13 pans. Okay, our caramel mixture is now complete. As you can see, it's a nice consistency. The butter and the caramel have all combined. And for those of you who are math wizards, you realize that we've put in 6 sticks of butter, 3 cups of brown sugar, dark or light. As I said, I usually use dark. And then your 8 tablespoons of Karo syrup. And now, what we're going to do is we'll spray the pans, the 9x13 pans, with non-stick, like Pam or something like that, if you want a name brand or else a store brand. And then those 9x13 pans, the best place to spray them, I've found, and this isn't my idea, this is one that I picked up somewhere else, is to spray them in the open front of your dishwasher, so then that way the only place that you're going to get the spray is in the dishwasher, which will then wash itself clean. So I'm going to spray those now, and then we're going to be pouring this into the individual pans. Okay, it's time to put the caramel sauce into the pans. And I use a measuring cup, just that way I get approximately the same amount in each pan. And I'm just using the 3/4 cup scoop. And you just scoop out full amounts, get them equally into the bottom of the pans. And I do this before I roll them out, so then that way the pans are ready to go when it's time to put the completed buns into each individual pan. Now you'll find that you can use 4 9x13 pans or 2 of the large pans that you can get at church. I just prefer 9x13, it keeps them self-contained, and then that way I'm getting about 15 buns in each pan, and I just prefer to do it that way. And of course the larger pans at church work just fine, and you can use those as well. So once I've got about 1.5 cups of sauce, the caramel sauce, in each of these individual pans, I'll head over and start making the sticky buns. And then I'll show you how that gets done in just a minute. Okay, time to make the dough, or roll out the dough into the sticky buns. So I've got my bowl of dough, as you can see here. It's been rising and been punched down several times during the day. It's got a little bit of a crust on the top, but that's okay. That's what happens as it dries out a little bit. We'll take care of that as we need it and roll it out. I usually just take a knife and cut it into fourths pretty evenly, so that way I don't have to worry about whether or not I'm accurate. I just cut it right in the bowl. Just take my knife, take my dough, and just cut it in fourths, you know, pretty close. Okay, once I've got it cut into fourths, I take 1/4 of it out. And as you can see, I've already prepped my counter. I've got a little bit of flour on there. I've got my dough. And I just knead it a little bit by hand to get rid of that dry part, get it into a nice consistency. The reason you want a little bit of flour is, you know, if you've made your dough right, it will stick a little bit to the rolling pin, but it's usually not a big problem. Okay, that should work pretty well. Then what I'll do is press it out a little bit on the flour. Get some of the flour on both sides. As you can see, I'm just pressing down on it. Then I take my rolling pin, put a little bit of flour on that as well. And it's just a matter of going back and forth, time and time again, till you turn it into a flat piece of dough. And you want it to be about 9 by 15, because in that way you're going to have enough area in which to put your butter and sprinkle your sugar and cinnamon, and then roll it up and cut it into the individual pieces that will become each individual sticky bun. As you can see, it's just a constant pressure back and forth. You can see it's starting to spread out. I find I use just a counter and it seems to work pretty well. And at first, you know, the flour slips a little bit, but then as it gets absorbed into the dough will stick to the counter a little bit and it'll put you in the shape you want to be. Okay, we've got our dough rolled out now. You can see there it's about I don't know, maybe it's a little bit over 9 by 18 or 15, but a little bit extra isn't going to hurt anything. Now what you want to do is take 2 tablespoons of softened butter, and you know, you can estimate right about there, and spread that onto the dough. That's what's going to hold in your sugar and your cinnamon. Now I use a knife to start, but then as you can see, got a spatula here to help me spread it out. So you just spread that out pretty evenly along it. Let me grab my spatula here and finish that up. So in that way you've got a little bit of butter all the way along it. And as you can see, you know, the dough moves a little bit, but that's alright, it's not going to go anywhere. You get that spread out, get it pretty evenly throughout the surface of the dough that you've got rolled out. And then take a half cup of butter, or sorry, half cup of sugar, and you just sprinkle it evenly, as much as you can, along the top of the dough that you've rolled out. And this is what really makes the sticky buns good, is all the sugar and the cinnamon. So as you get it on, you know, try to get near the edges in that, but a little bit I'm going to show you a trick for those areas where you may not have gotten. So get that sugar on there, then you get your cinnamon, and you're going to take 2 tablespoons of cinnamon and sprinkle that across the top of your sticky bun dough with the sugar and the butter already on it. You can see I'm just shaking that. This is just the first tablespoon. I usually use the second one to even things out and make sure that we haven't missed anything. You got to be a little bit careful. You don't want to dump too much in a single area. So try to find those areas where you haven't covered. So now we've got our cinnamon and our sugar on there, and now it's time to roll the sticky bun dough into a roll so that way we can cut our sticky buns. I usually start from the back, front, doesn't matter, and you just roll. As you can see, you're just rolling it, rolling it. Don't worry about it if the sugar spills out. And you get it into a nice roll. And as you can see now, I've got a roll of sticky bun dough, butter, sugar, and cinnamon inside. Take the same knife that I used to cut the dough earlier, and you cut pieces about 3/4 of an inch thick, watching your fingers. You just go all along, just like this. Remembering that this is going to rise during the night. So don't worry about it, that it looks a little bit thin right now, because it will build up. And you will see something completely different when you get up in the morning. Usually try to get about 15 to 18 into a pan. See, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. These smaller ones I usually take in and put them in the pan first, because they don't raise up as much and they're smaller. And then I just, in the pan, which I've got here, you can see the caramel sauce, and I just take each of the individual sticky buns, put them in, so I've got 3 in a row, 4 in that row with the small ones. Put them close together, trying not to let the the edge of the dough fold open. And you can see what's happening here is I'm leaving sugar and cinnamon on the counter. And I'll show you what I do with that once I get all these sticky buns in the caramel sauce in the pan. What I do is I'll then take that and I'll mop it up with my hand, collect it all, and then on those sticky buns that were the ends, or the ones that don't seem to have enough sugar on them or cinnamon, I'll just sprinkle this over the top of each of them, give it a little bit extra. And that's what makes them extremely sweet and seems to be what people really enjoy. So that's what a pan of sticky buns looks like when it's ready to be covered up for the night, and then it'll rise and be baked in the morning. I cover it with plastic wrap that I place in front of my dishwasher again that's open, and I spray it with the PAM or the cooking spray, so that way the plastic wrap doesn't stick to the sticky buns. So that's what a set of sticky buns looks like, ready to go in the oven in the morning when we arrive at church.